Welcome back to Old Moon Radio. My name is Chris Baranko. I'm here with my good friend Ian Mills, as always. And Ian, I feel like we said this the past couple pods, but it's been a little bit since we've hopped on. How's your last month been?
A lot of new music's come out in the past month or so. So we got a lot to cover.
There's a lot that came out, a lot that we want to cover. Um, so let's just get into it. This album is way different than anything we've ever discussed on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Do you want me to introduce it?
Go for it. Note for the listeners, I told Ian this already, but I'm not very familiar with Gorillaz, so this was a kind of a first time experience for me. But walk me through it.
Yeah, I we'll get into it a little bit. I'm curious their take on a lot of this stuff. I'm a fan of Gorillaz. I was really excited for this album to come out, and I wanted to do it on the pod because I was curious to see what Chris your take would be on this stuff. So Gorillaz are a British virtual band created in 1998 by Damon Albarn of Blur fame and Jamie Hewlett, who's an artist. And for a long time, they were a virtual band releasing albums and like releasing like shorts and music videos and comics. I don't remember off the top of my head when they like finally came out as like I people knew, but like we're also gonna perform live like as us. And play these songs. I've been a fan of Gorillaz for a long time. Demon Days came out in 2005. That was like one of the first albums that I was interested in when I was, started listening to music on my own. Plastic Beach is probably their best album that came out in 2010. But their most recent album is called The Mountain and came out February 27th of this year, right around the time that we were going to do Johnny Blue Skies, aka Social Simpson's new album, before we pulled it off of YouTube. And then we pivoted to this. Um, the Mountain is a little. So, one thing about Gorillaz is they always have a lot of covers. They have like relationships with a lot of musicians, a lot of rappers, especially. Or sorry, not covers, features. And this one is no different uh, with tons of features on the album. This album centers around a little bit more of so this was recorded in India and like a little bit more of a spiritual journey. Both Albarn and Hewlett had people close to them die, and this is sort of a perspective on death and sort of traversing like grief and what it means to sort of like be alive, but also kind of be confronting mortality a little bit. With that in mind, there's several features on this album of rappers and other artists who had have passed away before this album came out, as far back as I think like 2006. Um, and then also with the sort of very Indian influence, having Anushka Shankar on the sitar, and who's the other person? I think Anjay Prasanna, among others that are more Indian artists.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep track of all the features because there's a feature on every song, multiple features on most of them. I may have misheard you. Did you say they had features of artists that have passed away on
Yeah,
this record?
and I meant Ansha Pathuli,
Mm.
Pathly, Boothly. But yeah, I mean, we can get into it maybe. We don't. This is a pretty longer album, with 15 songs, so maybe we don't do every song, but I can kind of bring up, when we get to it, which ones are posthumous features.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting. I did not know that. But yeah, I guess I'll just give you my reaction up front on this album.
Mhm.
I thought it was really cool. I can see why most of the reviews that I've kind of seen for this, it's pretty well received by a lot of people. I would say by fans and like music critics alike. I can definitely see why it is that way. It's very ambitious. It has a lot of fresh sounds that I didn't associate with Gorillaz, but maybe they've done this before. Um, it totally threw me through a loop. Like when I first listened to The Mountain, the opening instrumental track, I was like, is this the right album? Like, I was like, is this the what we're supposed to be listening to? Because it does have such a different sound than everything that we've been listening to so far. And my first listen through, I was laying on the couch and I fell asleep and I woke up and I was so out of it. I was like, what am I listening to? Where am I? It was like really funny. Um, and then I came back and listened a couple times while working throughout the day, commuting, and it's really cool. I don't think it's like my music. Like I don't think I'm gonna be like diving deeper into this really, but I think I'll revisit some of the songs, especially I liked Orange County a lot. We can get into that in just a moment, a little bit later. The Shadowy Light I thought was cool. I think I like a little more of the like melodic ones that have like easier to catch on like melodies or hooks because I'm, you know, I don't know. That's just kind of what I found to be the most like captivating. But it's a lot of long songs on the album. They take their time. The songs breathe. They evolve. It's not just like verse, chorus, verse. It's like the songs progress as you go through them, which I thought was really neat. So I'm kind of rambling here, but you wanted to hear my thoughts. That's kind of what I experienced when I listened through.
Yeah, no, I knew that would be this would be like a little different for you because like it's also like two different sides. Like one is like they're very like every album will have like hip hop collaboration. So there'll be like more like rap songs and then there'll be more like club like electronica songs in a couple different flavors. So both I think are a little different for you. And
Yeah, but
it does
it
kind of
is
switch back
really
and forth.
cool. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is really cool how they genre blend and like the addition of like the like Indian instruments is like a really cool addition. Um, I don't know if I read this right. You may have come across this or you can correct me, but did they go on a trip right after the passing of their family? Like,
Yeah, I don't know the exact timeline.
okay.
I think at least Damon Albarn has talked about how like this was sort of like something he because I mean he came up like uh I mean he's how old is he? He's like in his 40s or 50s, I think. I mean,
Mm,
so he grew up like uh oh, he's almost 60. Crazy. He's 58.
holy
He looks
cow.
good for 58. Um, he's talked about like I mean coming up in like as a British pop artist, like obviously the Beatles are very famous for having sort of like these spiritual journeys to India, like however,
Mm,
you want to take that.
mm-hmm,
For this album specifically, he talked about going, he had this funny story like in one of the interviews where he was
mm-hmm,
in India traveling around and he's walking around. He finds this like small little sitar shop, and he goes in, and this is like a very like spiritual thing. It's like, oh, like I'm coming here for like thinking about this album and thinking about like my life, and like you have this little like hole in the wall shop,
mm-hmm.
and he's talking to the guy, and he sees a picture of I'm gonna butcher the story now. Uh, one of the Beatles. I'll just say one of the Beatles.
Okay.
Uh, uh with like the owner like with like holding a sitar and the guy was like, yeah, like my dad sold, I think it was George Harrison. I'll just go with that. I was like, yeah, I was like, my dad sold George Harrison a sitar, like like in like no
Mm-hmm.
62 or whatever. So kind of like funny how this is like kind of the same thing that was happening.
Yeah.
um but yeah, but I thought it was really cool that that Anushka Shankar is on like a lot of these songs and like playing with the sitar like a little different. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of what the Gorillaz does is like Auburn moving away from like more like pop rock to like other genres and cultural music. Like with hip hop a lot, but also with like Latin music and like even on this album.
Yeah.
So it's cool kind of like integrating a lot of that as well.
Yeah, it's wild. Definitely a concept album, which I really like that they do that because I feel like, especially in like today's musical scene, like we're so reliant on like singles or like quick albums. So like to just produce like a album that feels like a story and a concept in itself is a cool artistic choice. Clearly it's not for, I mean, I don't think it's for like the sales. Really, they did this as like a pro. It feels very personal and it feels like a passion project almost, which is cool that they're able to do that and put it out and have so many listeners listen to it. So yeah, it's definitely a big album, an emotional album. Like, even not being familiar with the band or really their history, you can feel the emotion in the songs. Massive sonic palette, as we discussed. It really threw me off when I forget which song it was, but they just broke into that, Spanish verse, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't expecting that. So, pretty neat that they blend all those different genres. But tell me about some of your favorite or some of the tracks that you want to kind of call out here.
Yeah. Maybe first I'll go over a little bit in order. Um, you said you liked
Yeah.
Orange County, right?
Yeah, I
That's
did.
pretty good.
Hmm.
I think the two the two singles, I know the Moon Cave is one
Mm.
that gets played a lot. So they also played on SNL if you guys
Oh,
didn't
they did.
see. Yeah. Um, so the hardest thing, Orange County. The Moon Cave wasn't one of the singles. I'm surprised at that they played that, but it
Mm.
wasn't one of the singles. The Moon Cave had Bobby Womack, who is an American singer-songwriter who died in 2014. A
Oh,
lot of these
wow.
were artists who did collaborate with Gorillaz on like previous albums that the songs got cut or reworked, so they had extra verses. So the Mooncave had Bobby Womack and Dave Jolissier of De La Soul.
Hmm.
And then on I'm trying to do this in album order. On the hardest thing, drummer Tony Allen starts the song. And then um, Dennis Hopper on The Mountain, Marky Smith from The Fall on Delirium, and Proof
Mm.
from D12 on The Manifesto, I think are the ones.
Do you
Um,
think that I'm stretching this, but for the sake of stretching it, do you think that has anything to do with like the themes of like life and death throughout this album? Because they lost, family members. They recorded this album. They're including people who have passed away. Do you think that's like an intentional artistic choice or just like, hey, we have these past cuts, might as well use them?
yeah, I definitely think it's intentional and just like being able to go back like from their old projects and kind of also revisit those and see if they can kind of, you know,
Hmm.
pay tribute and like bring like a little new life through this project.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, because I'm not familiar with a lot of these names. Maybe I should be, but none of them flagged to me. I was like, oh, this person clearly has passed away. So that's really good knowledge to know. Um, yeah, so I gotta check out the SNL performance. Do you know what songs they played on SNL other than the Moon Cave?
They did, so like SNL, like they normally do too. They did the Moon Cave and I think Clint Eastwood, which you had to have heard at some point.
Oh, one of their older songs. So
Yeah,
yeah, I know people who are listening, especially because there are probably fans of Gorillaz who have come across this. So if you're still listening, thank you. But I'm going to expose myself and say I'm not familiar with Clint Eastwood. Let me take a quick listen. I have Spotify up. I have my headphones in. I'll give you my live reaction here to Clint Eastwood. Let's see. I won't go through the whole thing. Obviously, I know Feel Good Inc. Um,
yeah.
okay, Clint Eastwood's got a little hip hop beat going into it. Let me fast forward a little bit. Yeah, I don't think I know that song. I won't listen to
That's
the whole thing.
crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's got over a billion listens on Spotify, and I've never heard
Yeah,
it. Yikes.
yeah. But yeah, it was cool for them to do that. I don't know much about their live performances. But like the impression I got from people reacting to that was like they don't do like old songs that often. I don't think so. I don't know. That might not be true, but
Mm,
um, and it's cool to see like obviously that one also has Dell rapping, which he came for the performance too, which is pretty cool.
that is cool. Side note, Gorillaz has 42 million monthly listeners. Like they are, I know I sound so ignorant right now, but they are like such a bigger band than I thought. Like that, they have a huge fan base. That's insane. And
Yeah,
I mean,
Chris,
I'm not
we
saying
don't
they,
we don't listen to popular music. Like I don't know why like maybe like Buffers and Sons and stuff, but other than that, like we're not like
they're 97th in the world on Spotify. That is, wow, that is amazing. I never knew they were that popular, but don't hate me, Gorillaz fans. We appreciate you being here. Um, Ian, what'd you think of Orange County? Like because I will say the little whistling thing that got stuck in my head throughout the day, and I was just hearing I can't whistle very well, but you know what I'm
yeah.
talking about.
I think so. I listened to this album a lot when it came out, which was bad timing for the podcast because I kind of like moved on to other stuff for and I had to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Um, I would say like when I was listening, I was really listening through the stretch of Orange County through Damascus, probably like the
Yeah,
middle of the album. So like the fifth song through the 11th song. I think the core of the album, like it's all really good. But that was like I think the
right.
best. My favorite songs, like kind of almost all in a row. I think those in some order are my favorite. I
Yeah,
think I think out of all of them, Delirium's my favorite song. Kind of for the same thing of like I I was like fully in a trance in that song. I feel like and like banging my head and stuff. I don't know why. I like the
yeah.
Plastic Guru. I like the Manifesto, Empty Dream Machine, and the entire stretch. I liked Idol's feature on God of Lying. I
Mm.
don't know. It's hard to pick, but I feel like if I was gonna pick, I'd pick Delirium.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to listen to that one again. I will say there was really cool, like the percussion was really neat and the bass, like this is an album you have to listen to with headphones on. It adds so much to it. Like this is like you're putting like a little world inside your ears, it sounds like I feel like without headphones, this would sound kind of like messy coming out of my phone speaker, but when you can really hear all the different parts and like that heavy boom of like the bass or the percussion, I guess. Um, I was walking down the street and I was just hearing like boom, boom in my ears, and I was like, "This is pretty cool." I felt pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fun. It was really fun to listen to. Um, just coming from what we listen to normally,
I
to
know.
not to like truly have like the mix of like hip hop, but also like more of like the heavier club stuff. Um,
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty great. I was definitely like amped up because back like at beginning of February when this came out, I was listening to like um uh the new Sturgill album and this like back to back to back and like Sturgill album we'll hopefully do an episode. You're gonna
yeah,
have to buy it, I think, Chris.
yeah. I know.
Um maybe we should just talk about that too because it like charted with no like streaming uh
Yeah, that's
not
insane.
being on streaming services, which is pretty cool. But this like that is also like a pretty like high paced record, and then to have this is pretty fun.
Yeah, the production in this is like super impressive. Who produced this album? Is it just them, like, or
Yeah, I think it's just them.
I'm looking it up
Well,
here.
so there are more producers,
Sure.
but I think, and it's hard, and I want to take some time at the end. I think we'll have enough time to just talk about like multimedia stuff and kind of like what they were trying to do like generally with Gorillaz is to have something that's like not just the music but also like creating like characters because like
Yeah.
Gorillaz is like these two but it's all like Gorillaz technically, I don't know if it's technically them or if it's them technically the virtual band Gorillaz. I don't know which
Yeah,
one's the technical part. Um, but we can get into that in a second. So Gorillaz and then a couple others, producer James Ford, Samuel Eglinton, Remy Kabaka, and uh, Bizarrap, I think.
yeah, I just saw that too. Um, yeah, talk to me a little bit about the multimedia approach and the virtual band because that kind of threw me off. Like, what is a virtual band? But I think I understand it. It's like making music kind of behind like a character and putting it out online and then like,
Yeah, so the band is the band Gorillaz is four members, uh 2D, Murdoch, Noodle, and Hobbs. And
so funny.
they like play this music. And then they did like music videos of that, the band playing, like interviews and cartoons and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then collaborating with like other artists, of course, as we were talking about it. Um,
But really
and
it's just two guys that are behind it all. Is that right?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I think I get it. Yeah, so have they kept the same characters since they started? Like I'm
Yeah.
completely new to all this. Okay.
Hmm.
And okay, wow, that's so neat. So do they have like other than music videos, are there like comics or like movie like not movies, but like short like films, I guess? Like I'm just curious how far and of an extent of like multimedia they really go. I'm
Um,
trying to
I
look it
don't
up as
like
it's
nothing like that big, I don't think.
okay, so it's mostly focused on the music.
Yeah.
Um yeah, see, this is opening up a whole new world for me. I know I sound these questions are very basic, but yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, they must collaborate with people more than like anyone I've ever seen. Like I'm looking at their Wikipedia and it has like so many different collaborations throughout the years. Like that's really cool. Overall, I mean, I'd say this was a pretty solid album. I definitely want to explore more of their music. I mean, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. I think it was a pretty good like change of pace a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, what would you recommend I listen to? Like, which album would you recommend I listen to next for Gorillaz?
Probably Plastic Beach, I think is the
Plastic
majority
Beach.
opinion of like their best album.
Really? That's 2010. Let me see if there's any songs on there I recognize. Probably not, if I didn't know Clint Eastwood. Um,
Maybe on Melancholy Hill is probably their most famous song. Well, maybe not.
hmm. No, Feel Good Inc. is definitely their most famous song. Um, what about Demon Days from 2005? Is that the one you said you were into
That was the
first?
first one I heard, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I guess I definitely like I mean, you're a little older than me, so maybe you would have. I wasn't listening to like new music in 2005. I probably got it somewhere between '05 and 10. Because I maybe would be a good podcast episode at some point to talk about like our first albums we were interested in. Because my
Hmm.
first was Stadium Arcadium by Red Hot Chili Peppers, which was '06, I think. So I wasn't listening to Demon Days in '05, but probably before Plastic Beach came out, definitely.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's really cool that like those artists have like a special affinity. I find that like the artists you listen to when you first got into music or when you were younger, like they kind of always stick with you, you know? And it's like it's very like feels like home when you go back and listen to them. All right, so I think I might go with I know you recommended Plastic Beach, but I think I might listen to Demon Days, and then our next episode, I can just report back kind of what I thought about it. I won't do a whole long spiel, but I'll let you know what I thought. Um, yeah, man. I would say overall, I give this album like a solid I give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I was gonna say 4 out of 5.
There you go. Yeah, quite the same.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I think it was good departure from what we've done before. Maybe we'll do some more. I don't know. Gorillaz is pretty unique. But maybe we'll do find some, hip hop or electronic albums that are coming out.
Awesome, man. All right, well, we'll end it there for Old Moon Radio there on The Mountain by Gorillaz, and thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Old Moon Radio.